Confidence is not what you've been told it is. Calm tone, slow pace. It isn't something you gain one day and suddenly carry like a badge. Slight emphasis on gain. It isn't in the way someone walks into a room or the tone they use when they speak. Neutral delivery. What most people call confidence is something borrowed. Pause conditioned. Short pause approved. Short pause shaped slowly over time by reactions, expectations, and silent rules that were never truly theirs. Deep reflective tone. From the moment you became aware of others, you began adjusting. Storytelling tone. You learned when to speak and when to stay quiet. Slight pause. You learned what made people nod in approval and what made them pull away. Emphasis on approval and pull away. You learned to shrink parts of yourself to fit spaces that were never designed for you. Slow, heavy tone, and over time, those adjustments became automatic. Pause, so automatic that now you mistake them for identity. Lower tone, but that isn't confidence. Firm tone, pause. That's permission. Strong emphasis, pause. And permission is fragile. Soft, but serious, because it depends on something outside of you. Slight emphasis. It depends on how people react, how they judge, how they respond in any given moment. Rhythmic delivery, which means it can be taken away just as quickly as it was given. Slow, impactful. Think about how often you pause before acting. Engaging tone. Not because you don't know what to do, but because you're calculating how it will be received. Slight emphasis. You hesitate, not out of weakness, but because hesitation was trained into you. Firm tone. You were taught to consider reactions before decisions, to measure risk before movement, to stay within invisible boundaries so you wouldn't disrupt the comfort of others. Flowing but controlled. Every moment of overthinking. Slow, every delay. Pause, every time you hold back what you really want to say. Soft tone, that isn't your true nature. Firm, that is conditioning running its script. Serious tone, pause. Real confidence doesn't ask for permission. Firm, confident, it doesn't wait for approval. Slight pause, it doesn't perform for attention. Steady tone, it operates quietly without resistance. Calm, it moves without needing validation. Emphasis, it decides without explaining itself. Slow, powerful, and that kind of control is rare. Pause, lower tone, because most people are not in control of themselves. Serious tone, they're controlled by fear, by opinions, by expectations they didn't even choose. Rhythmic emphasis, so when someone steps outside of that system, pause. When someone begins acting from a place that isn't influenced by external pressure. Slower, they stand out immediately. Emphasis, not because they are louder. Pause, but because they are unaffected. Strong, slow. The moment you stop needing validation, something shifts. Engaging tone, you stop chasing reactions. Pause, you stop adjusting your behavior to match what feels safe. Steady, you stop explaining yourself to people who were never entitled to understand you in the first place. Firm, and when that happens, you become unpredictable. Slow, dramatic, and unpredictability creates power. Emphasis, because people can't control what they can't read. Calm, confident, most people will never reach that point. Neutral tone, not because they can't pause, but because it requires letting go of something they've depended on their entire lives. Serious, it requires stepping away from the comfort of approval and into the uncertainty of self-direction. Slow, that's not easy. Pause, but it is necessary. Firm, if you want to remove hesitation, you don't start by trying to feel confident. Clear tone, feelings are unreliable. Slight emphasis, they change constantly. Short pause, instead you build something deeper. Slow, something stable. Pause, you build internal authority. Strong emphasis, pause. Right now, most decisions you make are influenced by something external. Explanatory tone, you look at reactions. Pause, you scan environments. Pause, you measure what's acceptable before you act. Steady, and without realizing it, you outsource your direction. Firm, that's why everything feels uncertain. Soft tone, because when your decisions depend on external input, you are always waiting. Slower pace, waiting for confirmation. Pause, waiting for the right moment. Pause, waiting for a signal that tells you it's safe to move. Emphasis, But safety is unstable. Firm. Pause. What is accepted in one environment is rejected in another. Neutral. What works today may fail tomorrow. Steady. So if your confidence is built on that shifting ground, it will collapse under pressure. Strong. People who operate differently don't rely on that system. Calm. They create their own. Pause. They define what matters. Steady. They establish their own rules. Pause. They build standards that don't change based on opinion or circumstance. Firm. And once those standards exist, something important happens. Engaging tone. Decisions become automatic. Emphasis. Pause. You stop asking, what will they think? Slight pause. You start asking, does this align with what I've already decided is acceptable? Clear. Emphasis. That single shift removes hesitation at its root. Firm. Because you're no longer negotiating with external variables. Steady. You're executing based on internal clarity. Strong. But here's where many misunderstand this idea. Transition tone. Internal authority is not about ignoring everything around you. Clear. It's not about becoming stubborn or refusing feedback. Slight emphasis. That's not strength. Pause. That's blindness. Firm. Real control comes from filtering. Strong. You observe. Pause. You listen. Pause. You gather information. Pause. But you decide what matters. Emphasis. You decide what applies. Pause. And the final direction always comes from you. Firm. No delay. Pause. No dependency. Pause. That level of consistency creates something most people lack: stability. Slow. And stability builds identity. Emphasis. When your behavior stops shifting based on pressure, people begin to recognize a pattern. Steady. You don't bend easily. Pause. You don't react impulsively. Pause. You don't collapse when challenged. Firm. And that's when respect starts forming. Slow. Not because you demanded it. Pause. But because your actions made it inevitable. Strong. Now, once you begin operating this way, the next challenge appears: pressure. Transition tone. Pressure is where most people break. Serious. Not because they lack ability, but because they were never trained to function under intensity. Steady. The moment things become uncertain, their focus shifts. Pause. Instead of thinking clearly, they begin imagining outcomes. Slight emphasis. Instead of acting, they start reacting. Firm. And everything slows down. Slow. But pressure itself is not the problem. Calm. Pressure is exposure. Emphasis. It reveals how you respond when comfort disappears. Steady. It shows your default patterns. Pause. It exposes whether your control is real or just situational. Firm. That's why two people can face the same moment and respond completely differently. Neutral. One freezes. Pause. The other moves. Pause. The difference isn't talent. Firm. It's conditioning. Strong. Most people spend their lives avoiding pressure. Serious. They choose easy paths. Pause. Predictable environments. Pause. Situations where nothing challenges their control. Steady. And they believe that keeps them safe. Slight emphasis. But all it does is make them fragile. Firm. Because when real pressure appears, and it always does, they are unprepared. Strong. The goal is not to eliminate pressure. Clear. That's impossible. Pause. The goal is to normalize it. Emphasis. To the point where it no longer disrupts your thinking. Steady. To the point where intensity feels familiar instead of threatening. Slow. That only happens through exposure. Firm. You place yourself in situations where outcomes matter. Clear. Where there is risk. Pause. Where there is uncertainty. Pause. And you stay there long enough for your mind to adjust. Steady. At first, it will resist. Soft tone. It will try to pull you back into comfort. Pause. It will look for escape routes. Pause. It will convince you to delay. Firm. But every time you stay, slow. Every time you don't retreat. Pause. Something changes. Emphasis. The reaction weakens. Pause. The intensity fades. Pause. The pressure that once overwhelmed you becomes manageable. Steady. And eventually, it becomes normal. Slow. Calm. That's when your behavior shifts. Engaging tone. You stop panicking. Pause. You start performing. Emphasis, and people notice. Slight pause. They won't always understand why you seem calm when things get intense. Slow, but they will feel the difference. Firm, because most people are controlled by pressure. Serious, and when they encounter someone who isn't, it stands out immediately. Strong. Now, as your control increases, something else becomes important: perception. Transition. Most people focus on expression. Neutral. They want to say everything they feel. Pause. Show everything they think. Pause. Be fully understood at all times. Steady. But uncontrolled expression creates exposure. Firm. And exposure creates predictability. Pause. When people can read you easily, they can anticipate your reactions. Clear. When they can anticipate you, they can influence you. Firm. Your emotions become visible patterns. Pause. Your patterns become weaknesses. Slow. Control is not about revealing everything. Firm. It's about deciding what should be visible and what should remain hidden. Measured tone. Because people don't respond to who you are internally. Steady. They respond to what they can observe. Emphasis. Your tone. Pause. Your timing. Pause. Your reactions. Pause. All of these shape perception. Steady. And perception shapes reality. Firm. So instead of asking, "How do I feel right now?" Slight pause, you begin asking, "What should be visible right now?" Clear. That question changes everything. Emphasis, because it shifts you from reaction to intention. Steady. You stop speaking impulsively. Pause. You stop revealing unnecessary information. Pause. You stop reacting in ways that reduce your position. Firm. And one of the most powerful tools in this shift is silence. Slow, dramatic. Most people fear silence. Soft tone, they rush to fill it. Pause, they explain too much. Pause, they talk to maintain control. Steady, but in reality, they give it away. Firm, because every unnecessary word reveals something. Pause, controlled individuals understand this. Calm, they let silence exist. Pause, they let it create tension. Pause, they let others speak more, reveal more, expose more. Steady, and in doing so, they maintain control without force. Firm, this doesn't mean becoming fake. Clear, it means becoming selective. Emphasis, you still observe reality clearly. Pause, you still respond appropriately. Pause, but you remove unnecessary expression. Firm, you become harder to read. Slow, and what is harder to read is harder to control. Strong. Now, as you move deeper into this, fear will still appear. Transition, it always does. Pause, but instead of seeing it as something to avoid, you begin to see it as information. Calm, fear points to uncertainty. Steady, it highlights gaps. Pause, it shows where your structure is weak. Firm, and most people never benefit from that because they run from it. Serious, they distract themselves. Pause, they delay. Pause, they look for comfort instead of clarity. Steady, but if you pause instead and analyze it, something changes. Slow, you define the fear. Pause, you break it down. Pause, you identify what exactly is causing the reaction. Firm, and once it is defined, it loses intensity. Steady, because fear grows in uncertainty. Pause, but weakens in clarity. Emphasis, you stop imagining outcomes. Pause, you start preparing for them. Pause, and that turns fear into strategy. Firm, at the same time, you begin to understand another principle most people ignore. Transition, availability reduces value. Strong emphasis, when you're always present, always responding, always accessible, people stop noticing. Steady, you become expected. Pause, and what is expected carries no weight. Firm, but when your presence becomes limited, something shifts. Slow, people pay more attention. Pause, they become more aware. Pause, because access is no longer guaranteed. Firm, this is not about disappearing completely. Clear, it's about control. Emphasis, you choose when to engage. Pause, you choose when to step back. Pause, and that selectiveness increases your impact. Firm, because your presence becomes something experienced, not assumed. Slow. Finally, all of this leads to one critical shift. Transition. Action. Strong pause. Hesitation is not caution. Firm is delay disguised as thinking. Steady. It creates a gap between intention and execution, where doubt grows stronger. Slow. And in that gap, opportunity moves forward without you. Firm. Controlled individuals close that gap. Strong. They don't wait for perfect certainty. Pause. They act when clarity is sufficient. Pause. They move before doubt fully forms. Firm. Not recklessly. Pause. But decisively. Strong. This is controlled aggression. Emphasis. Not emotion. Pause. Not chaos. Pause. Precision in motion. Slow. Powerful. You remove internal resistance. Pause. You commit fully. Pause. And once you move, everything aligns. Steady. Momentum builds. Pause. Confidence reinforces itself. Pause. And hesitation fades. Firm. Because action becomes your default. Emphasis. Not something you wait for, but something you initiate. Steady. And over time, that changes everything. Slow. You no longer see yourself as someone who prepares endlessly. Pause. You see yourself as someone who executes. Firm. And that identity, once formed, does not break easily. Strong. Because it is built through repetition. Pause. Through action. Pause. Through moments where you chose movement instead of hesitation. Steady. And that is the difference. Firm. The world does not respond to what you intend to do. Clear. It responds to what you actually do. Strong. Every time. Pause. No exceptions. Firm. So the question is no longer whether you understand this. Calm. The question is whether you will apply it. Emphasis. Because understanding without action changes nothing. Slow. But action, even imperfect, rewires everything. Strong. And once that process begins, pause. There's no going back. Final. Slow. Powerful.